He stepped into the cockpit prepared for a routine departure, but the moment the co-pilot saw him, everything froze. A raised eyebrow. A muttered insult. A challenge no captain should hear. But what the co-pilot didn't know was that doubting this man's credentials would trigger a corporate response that would end his career within minutes. Captain Marcus Hale had flown for over 22 years, earning a reputation as one of the safest, calmest, and most respected pilots in the industry. Before dawn, he arrived at Gate C-27 carrying the same leather flight bag he'd used since his first solo run. Passengers were boarding, crew members were preparing, and the sky glowed with that gentle blue that promised smooth flying. Everything felt normal, until he stepped into the cockpit. The young co-pilot, a man named Eric Dalton, swiveled in his seat and froze, confusion flickering across his face before his expression twisted into something much sharper. Can I help you?" he asked, as if Marcus had wandered in by mistake. Marcus set his bag down calmly. "I'm Captain Hale. We're flying to Denver." Eric stared at him for 2 beats too long. "You're the captain? You're kidding." Marcus didn't blink. He had seen this before, subtle disbelief, the quiet questioning reserved for him and pilots who looked like him. But Eric didn't stop at disbelief. "I'm going to need to see your ID," he demanded. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You saw my name on the roster." "Yeah," Eric said, voice tightening. "But I've never flown with, someone with your background." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he remained composed. He handed over his credentials, fully valid, fully verified. Eric skimmed them skeptically, shaking his head. "This doesn't make sense. I mean, are you sure these aren't, outdated? Did you transfer in from some regional carrier? I've been a captain here longer than you've held a license," Marcus replied, tone even but firm. Still, Eric wasn't done. He stood abruptly, blocking Marcus from his own captain's seat. "I'm sorry, but I'm not taking orders from someone whose qualifications I can't trust. I'm calling operations." Passengers outside began glancing toward the cockpit as tension crept into the cabin. Marcus remained still. "Call whoever you need," he said. "But step aside. We have a flight to depart." Instead of complying, Eric pulled out his phone. "Yeah, dispatch? I need verification. We have a questionable captain situation here." "Questionable captain." The words landed like ice. Marcus watched silently, knowing this wasn't about protocol, this was prejudice wrapped in procedure. And Eric had no idea the storm he just unleashed. It took less than 90 seconds for the situation to escalate beyond anything Eric imagined. Dispatch immediately flagged the call as discriminatory and alerted corporate leadership, who happened to be holding a regional compliance meeting just 2 floors above the gate. By the time Eric hung up, thinking he triggered an investigation into Marcus, he didn't realize an entirely different investigation had already launched into him. 3 executives marched down the jet bridge, led by the director of flight operations, a stern woman named Olivia Cortez who had personally signed off on several of Marcus's promotions. The moment she entered the cockpit, her expression hardened. "Captain Hale," she greeted warmly. "Sorry for the delay. We received a concerning report." Eric immediately stepped forward. "Yes, ma'am. I called because I believe there's been a mistake with the captain assignment." This man, Olivia interrupted sharply, "is your senior captain." Eric blinked rapidly. But his credentials are impeccable," Olivia snapped. "And you questioned them because, why?" Eric stammered, sweating under the sudden pressure. I just thought maybe he wasn't qualified." "Qualified?" Olivia leaned in, her voice low and deadly. "Captain Hale has logged over 18,000 flight hours, trained dozens of pilots, including some more experienced than you, and holds one of the highest safety ratings in the entire fleet. And you thought he wasn't qualified?" Eric opened his mouth again, but she shut it down instantly. "Your behavior fits a documented pattern of bias complaints filed against you during training," she said. "Your instructors noted it. HR noted it. And apparently you decided to display it again, toward a senior captain." Marcus remained silent, posture steady. He didn't gloat. He didn't smirk. He simply waited. Olivia turned to the crew members gathering at the cockpit door. "Effective immediately, First Officer Dalton is removed from duty," she announced. Gasps followed. "He is suspended pending full investigation, and his access to the aircraft is revoked." A security officer arrived at the jet bridge entrance, summoned before Eric even knew what was happening. "Escort him off," Olivia ordered. Eric sputtered. "Why, you can't do this! I was following procedure." "You abused procedure," Olivia replied coldly. "And you jeopardized the integrity of this flight." As Eric was led away, passengers peeked from their seats, whispering. Some clapped quietly. Some looked stunned. Marcus simply nodded as Olivia turned back to him. "Captain, the aircraft is yours. We apologize for this disgraceful behavior." Marcus sat in his captain's seat at last, adjusting his headset with the calm authority that had carried him through decades in the sky. Justice, this time, had been swift. Once Eric was removed, the atmosphere in the cabin shifted from tense to reverent. Crew members who had witnessed the confrontation approached Marcus one by one, offering quiet apologies and warm respect. The new replacement co-pilot, a seasoned first officer named Ramirez, entered the cockpit with a nod of admiration. "Captain Hale," he said. "It's an honor. Sorry about what happened. It won't happen again on my watch." Marcus appreciated his sincerity but kept his focus on professionalism. "Let's get our passengers to Denver," he replied. As they completed the pre-flight checks, Marcus could still feel the weight of what had occurred, not just the insult, but the reminder of how deeply bias could run even in the most disciplined environments. Yet the response from corporate reminded him that progress, though uneven, was still real. When Marcus addressed the passengers over the intercom, his voice was steady and warm. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We experienced a personnel issue that has since been resolved. We'll be departing shortly." The passengers applauded, some openly cheering for him. A young black boy in row 5 looked toward the cockpit with shining eyes, whispering to his mother. "Mom, he's the captain." Marcus caught the moment out of the corner of his eye and felt a quiet surge of purpose. Representation wasn't abstract, it mattered right here, in the gaze of a child who now knew he could grow up to command the skies. After liftoff, as the plane soared smoothly above the clouds, Ramirez said softly, "For what it's worth, sir, you handled that with more grace than most people ever could." Marcus simply nodded. "We set the standard by living it," he said. And for the rest of the flight, the cockpit felt lighter, not because the turbulence was gone, but because respect had finally taken its rightful place in the captain's seat. If this story struck you, share your thoughts below, because conversations like this matter. Bias doesn't disappear on its own, it disappears when people confront it, challenge it, and refuse to let it slide. Comment your reaction, share this video to keep awareness alive, and subscribe for more stories that expose wrongdoing and empower those who stand tall in the face of it. Your engagement fuels change. Your voice amplifies justice. Let's keep pushing for a world where skill, integrity, and character, not prejudice, define a person's worth.